You think excellence is a result, a destination, something that will come after many years of effort. Wrong. It's not something you achieve at a special moment. It's what you are doing or not doing right now. Excellence doesn't come from a bright moment on stage, but from the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. It's how you wake up in the morning, whether you fight the fatigue or not. It's how you work, whether you truly focus or just go through the motions. It's how you react to negative emotions, whether you let them dictate your behavior or not. These things are not captured, not rewarded, but they are what define who you are. Do you want to know why some people always rise above, always progress, always reliable, even though they're not the smartest, most fortunate, or most privileged? Because they've chosen to live by a higher standard every single day. Not just when inspired, not just when there's a deadline, but every day. They don't need a stage to demonstrate excellence, because excellence is already in their daily behavior. The problem is most people don't think that way. They wait for a big opportunity, a turning point, an ideal moment to start changing. They believe they'll break through on a beautiful day, but that day never comes. Because the truth is, no one becomes successful by waiting until they feel ready. They succeed because they take action, even when they're not ready. You don't need another motivational lesson. You need a mirror to reflect the way you're living today. Look at your schedule. Look at how you start your mornings, how you finish your work, how you treat yourself when no one is around to remind you. If everything you do is at an acceptable level, don't expect extraordinary results. No great achievement is born from average standards. Excellence is a habit, and habits are born from systems of choices. Not big choices, but small, repeated choices. Choose to read a book instead of scrolling through social media. Choose to focus instead of procrastinating. Choose to eat right instead of eating emotionally. Choose patience instead of getting angry. Those choices may seem small, but they have the greatest power. They shape the person you're becoming. And here's the truth. You don't become excellent by winning one battle. You become excellent because you refuse to live mediocre day after day. You act as if you are responsible for something bigger than yourself. You don't do it because someone is watching. You do it because it's the standard you refuse to lower. What standard are you living by? Are you working hard only when there's pressure? Do you only perform well when someone is watching? Do you give up when results don't come as quickly as you expected? If so, it's not a lack of ability. It's a lack of consistency. And if you lack consistency, you'll always find yourself starting over. This isn't about ideals. This is about reality. If you want to break free from stagnation, no 12-month plan required, no grand goal needed. You only need to do one thing. Decide that from today, you live by a different standard. No negotiations, no waiting for the perfect moment, no relying on feelings. Start with the next morning. When the alarm rings, you get up without hesitation. When you start working, you do it with the highest focus. No social media, no constantly checking emails. When you practice, you push your limits by 1%. When you talk to others, you listen fully, not thinking about something else at the same time. When you're tired, you rest properly, not letting laziness disguise itself as reward. You don't need someone to inspire you every morning. You need yourself, the disciplined, clear, purposeful version of you to rise up and choose to do what needs to be done. Repeat. Every day. No need for praise, no need for supervision, just you and the standard you've committed to. Because excellence is not a destination you reach, excellence is the path you choose to walk, today, tomorrow, and every day after. No one can grant it to you, no one can live it for you, and no one can take it from you once it becomes a part of you. You don't have to be completely right. You don't have to win every time. You just need to avoid making failure a habit. Many people have a misguided definition of success, that in order to be excellent, you must not make mistakes, never go off track, never get tired, and never stop. But the truth is simpler and harsher. No one needs you to be perfect. The only thing this game requires is you maintain the standards of life you've chosen, even when no one is watching. You may slip, you may not do well, you may face difficulties, but if you keep getting back on track, maintaining your internal commitment to the way you want to live, to the type of person you want to become, then you are still moving forward. The difference between successful people and failures is not in how often they get things right. It lies in how often They don't let themselves drift into complacency. Every time you hold on to your standards in unfavorable circumstances, you are sending a clear signal to your brain, I am serious about my life. Most people let circumstances decide their standards. When things are favorable, they perform well. When things get tough, they lower their expectations. But if you only live with discipline when things are easy, you will never be sustainable. However, if you choose to maintain your standards, even when no one asks, even when everything is against you, then you are laying the foundation for what others call luck. There's no secret here, just consistency with the standards you've committed to, regardless of the surrounding conditions. People often think they lack motivation, but in reality what they lack is personal standards. Motivation is an emotion, standards are a structure. Motivation can fluctuate, but if your standards don't change, your behavior won't fluctuate either. When you decide, I am the type of person who doesn't quit halfway, I am the type of person who is punctual, I am the type of person who keeps their word, every time you act in accordance with that, you are strengthening a solid identity. And that identity over time will operate automatically. You don't need motivation to live true to yourself, you just need to not lower yourself. Excellence doesn't demand perfection. It only requires that you don't allow yourself to regress to an old version of yourself. The most dangerous thing is not failure, but when you begin to allow yourself to do just enough, just this time, it's fine a little. That's how standards slip away, not with one big failure, but with thousands of small compromises. When you get used to doing less than your potential, you are reprogramming yourself to live lower than your potential. There are days when you are tired. There are days when you see no meaning in continuing. On those days, others will quit. But if you don't drop your standards and simply act with a spirit of not good yet, but not giving up, then you've already surpassed the majority. Because when people live by inspiration, they stop when their emotions run out. But when you live by standards, you continue even when you feel empty inside. And that's what makes the difference. Look at how you treat yourself when no one is reminding you. That's the real version of you. When you can hold on to principles by yourself, no one needs to supervise you anymore. And at that point, you're not just someone who can do well, you're someone who can't help but do well, because you won't allow yourself to live any other way. If there's one thing you should do today, it's to clearly define the standards of life that you will never negotiate. Not goals, not results, but behavioral standards. How focused are you when working? How do you keep promises to yourself? How do you handle fatigue? How do you face procrastination? These standards are the tracks that shape the path you'll walk. Don't wait until you achieve something big to realize your worth. Don't wait until others recognize you to feel good enough. Start by maintaining your standards, no matter how small, every day. Because excellence doesn't require you to be perfect. It just requires you to be firm in not accepting anything less than what you know is right. No one sees you at 5 a.m. No one knows that you just hit the snooze button for the second time. No one witnesses the moment you decide to sleep for another 10 minutes or get up the first time. But it is in those moments where character is shaped. No applause, no supervision, just you and the decision you make every morning. That is the test of discipline that no one sets, but its results will show throughout the rest of your life. The morning is not just a part of the day, it is the root part. And if this root part is rotted by procrastination, the rest of the day will just be a struggle to put out fires. You cannot build an excellent day from a chaotic morning. Everything you do afterward, how you react, decide, work, speak, is affected by the mental state you create at the start. You might feel busy all day, but still get nothing done. It's not because you're lazy, but because you started off wrong from the very first moment. What's frightening is that many people don't realize they are programming procrastination every morning. They hit snooze not just to get more sleep, they're teaching their brain that promises to myself can be broken. And when you start the day by breaking a promise, you will continue breaking promises in other things, procrastinating work, skipping workouts, breaking promises to your goals. Nothing stands alone. Every behavior is part of a continuous chain of habits. On the other hand, when you start the day with discipline, you get up immediately when the alarm rings, you follow the routine you've designed for yourself. You don't just conquer the morning, you are reprogramming your brain to believe, I am someone who has control, I am someone who keeps their word. And that radiates through the rest of the day. You work more focused, you handle difficulties more clearly, You respond to life proactively instead of passively. Just one right choice in the early morning, your entire operating system changes. Many people think the morning is something flexible, something that can be spontaneous. But if you let the morning be controlled by emotions, you are putting your whole future in the hands of your mood. If the day doesn't start the way you want, it's very hard to make it end the way you want. The world's most successful people, from entrepreneurs, athletes to scientists, all have one thing in common. They don't let the morning unfold randomly. Each one has their own way: meditation, journaling, exercise, reading. But the key point is they take control of the first moment. They kickstart the day with clear goals, a positive state, and consistent habits. Not because they are free, but because they understand this is the most profitable investment of the day. You don't need 2 hours in the morning like a CEO to change your life. You only need 10 to 15 minutes. But that time must be purposeful. No phones, no emails, no social media. Just you, a quiet space, and actions that help you reconnect with yourself. Wake up, do some light exercise, breathe deeply, write a few lines about what you want to achieve today. It sounds simple, but it's this simplicity that's terrifying, because anyone can do it, but no one can keep it up for long. And that's your opportunity to rise above. You cannot control the entire day. Life will always have its ups and downs, but you can control the first 15 minutes. And when you take control of the morning, you take control of your mindset. When you take control of your mindset, you respond better to whatever happens throughout the day. If you let the morning slip by in confusion, rushing out the door with a cluttered mind, don't be surprised if you feel chaotic all day. Your mood doesn't come randomly. It's created by how you start each day. Don't underestimate the power of small things. A disciplined morning routine can change your mindset. A decision to get up on time can change your identity. Every morning you wake up is an opportunity to reaffirm who you are, how you want to live, and whether you are willing to do it without anyone reminding you. No one is checking you, no one is grading you, but the results will be clearly visible in the quality of your life every day, every year, every decade. It's not time, it's not money, it's not relationships. The most valuable thing you own is focus. It determines how much you get done in a day, how much value you create in a week, and what your life becomes in a decade. Focus is the foundational resource of all achievement. But the problem is, you're spending it as if it's endless. You let messages interrupt your train of thought. You let mindless clicks pull you into a vortex of junk information. You think you're working, but in reality, you're just drifting between aimless, shallow moments with no direction or depth. And then you wonder, why are you exhausted, yet nothing has really progressed? No one teaches you how to protect your focus. In this world, everything is fighting to steal it from you. Social media, ads, news, entertainment, even the people around you. And if you're not proactive, you'll lose. You'll be drowned by the noise. You'll bounce from one task to another, constantly reacting, but never truly touching meaningful work. You'll trade depth for the feeling of being busy, and when you live this way long enough, you'll forget what a truly productive day feels like. So the most successful people aren't smarter than you. They just know how to protect their focus like a sacred territory. They understand that if you control your attention, you control the direction of your entire life. They don't let the outside world dictate what deserves attention. They actively choose, design their time, build their space, set boundaries. They lock the door, they turn off notifications, they schedule. And then when they sit down to work, they turn 4 hours into the value of 12. Not because they work more, but because every minute they live is meaningful. You don't need 12 hours a day, you need 3 hours of deep work. 3 hours of true focus, undisturbed, no phone checks, no multitasking. In those 3 hours, you will create what others might struggle with all day long. That's the difference of focus. It doesn't accumulate, it multiplies. The deeper you go, the more effective you are. The more distractions, the more meaningless it becomes. And what kills your ability to focus is not laziness. It's the acceptance of living distracted. If you don't have rules, the world will impose them on you. Set limits for yourself. Deep work hours are sacred, not to be interrupted. Keep your phone out of reach. Block social media during important times. Check email at fixed hours. These things may sound rigid, but it's because you lack principles that you don't have freedom. Discipline is what frees up time for you to actually live. Focus is not an innate talent. It's a skill, one that can be trained, strengthened like a muscle. And like any muscle, if you let it weaken for too long, it will lose its reflex. Try reading a page of a book and notice how many times your mind drifts away. Try sitting still with a difficult task and see how long you can resist distractions. That's the sign of whether you're in control of yourself, and if not, you must start training it back now. Not with big changes, but with each small choice. Turn off notifications, do one thing at a time, finish before moving on to the next. That's how you reclaim the mental sovereignty you've lost for so long. The world doesn't need you to be busier, the world needs you to be sharper. Sharper to discern what truly matters, sharper to cut through the noise, to not live by the rhythm of the crowd, sharper to have the courage to say no to thousands of trivial things, just to focus all your attention on one worthwhile thing. That's how the good become excellent, and that's how you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, not by more effort, but by sharper focus. You can have big dreams. You can imagine the best version of yourself, alert, strong, energetic, working deeply, living with purpose, no longer trapped in old loops. But if you don't have discipline, all of that is just a beautiful image in your mind, never turning into reality. Because between I want and I've done it, there's always a gap. And the only thing that fills that gap is discipline. Discipline is not rigid enforcement. It is the deepest expression of truly respecting yourself. When you say, I will do this, and you do it, even when you're tired, bored, or unmotivated, you're showing yourself that my word has value, I am trustworthy, first and foremost with myself. On the contrary, each time you break a promise to yourself, skipping workouts, being late, procrastinating work, sleeping in, eating off plan, you're telling your brain, I am not serious. I am easily swayed. I cannot keep my promises to myself. Repeat this enough and you lose trust in yourself, and then you stop trying. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because every time they have an opportunity, they come up with an excuse. I'm tired, I'm not ready, I'll do it tomorrow, but that tomorrow never comes. The truth is, if you can't start when you're not inspired, you'll never start. Discipline is the ability to act even when you don't feel ready. That's the dividing line between those who act out of inspiration and those who act out of commitment. Discipline is not a superpower. It's a muscle. And you can train it like any other muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you delay, the weaker it becomes. Every time you do the right thing at the right time, you're reinforcing the habit of action. Every time you procrastinate, you're deepening the rut of procrastination. And the important thing is, you don't need to start with something big. Just keep your word with yourself on the small things. Wake up on time, drink enough water, complete tasks as promised, work out for just 15 minutes. These are the small but non-compromising actions. They are the building blocks of the bridge from your present self to the version you dream of. One of the common mistakes is thinking that you need to feel determined, to be in a high-spirited mood, or to be full of energy before you should act. But truly excellent people don't wait for feelings. They build systems to act. They create environments that don't allow procrastination to be easy. They make habits an indispensable part of the day, like brushing their teeth, no hesitation, no negotiation, just doing. Because they understand emotions are traitors. They change every hour, but discipline, if you train it, will not change with the weather of your mood. If there's one principle that all successful people agree on, it's this: do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Because the difference is not in wanting. Everyone wants to be wealthy, healthy, happy, and at peace. But only those with discipline turn wanting into actual results. And that doesn't come from one big decision. It comes from hundreds of small, unattractive, unnoticed decisions, but consistently made. Don't think of discipline as a limit on freedom. In fact, it's the lack of discipline that takes away your freedom. You depend on your emotions, you're controlled by circumstances. You don't have control over your time, energy, or health. Discipline is what helps you regain control. It enables you to do what you want because you've trained yourself to push through procrastination, distraction, and fatigue while still keeping your commitments. You don't need another perfect plan. You just need to start with one small thing. But do it even when it's inconvenient, and tomorrow you do it again. That's how you build the bridge from where you are to where you want to be. Not by dreams, but by every repeated act of discipline each day. You may start strong, full of excitement with clear goals and burning determination. But let me ask you this: what about 6 months later, when the motivation fades, when the results haven't shown up, when no one is applauding? Will you still be there, continuing to do the right thing on time, with the same spirit as day one? And that's the question success always asks, and only those who persist are qualified to answer it. People don't fail because they don't know how to start. They fail because they don't know how to continue. Because starting is easy, starting a new habit, starting a new project, starting a new chapter in life. But maintaining it is different. Maintaining it on days when nothing happens, maintaining it when things are slow, boring, dull, maintaining it when you ask yourself, is it worth it? The truth is, the biggest results are not for those who work hard for a few weeks. They belong to those who continue to work hard even when no one sees, no one praises, no one believes. Many people have potential, but they lose that potential because they expect results too early. They become impatient, they work for a few weeks, don't see any change, then return to old habits. They think that if there are results, then motivation will follow, but the reality is the opposite. Only when you maintain consistent behavior do the results start to appear. And those results never come as soon as you expect. They are slow, very slow, but once they come, they will multiply exponentially. You need to understand this. No one sees when you persist in silence. No one applauds when you complete your tasks every day. No one cheers when you exercise, even when you're tired, read books even when it's late, work with focus even when your mind is chaotic. But all those actions, when accumulated for long enough, will become the launching pad that others call surprise. In fact, there's nothing surprising about it. It's just that they didn't see how many times you didn't give up. Success doesn't belong to the person who starts the fastest, it belongs to the person who never stops. Those who understand that if they can't do much today, they'll still do a little. If they're tired, they'll work slower, but they will never quit. They live by one principle: maintain a streak of daily action regardless of the conditions. Because they know the danger is not missing one day, but that feeling of just once, multiplied into weeks, months, and then back to the starting line. You don't need to always be at your highest performance, you just need not to let fatigue become an excuse to stop. Maybe today you'll work with 60% of your energy. That's fine, because 60% is still better than 0%. What matters is not the speed, what matters is keeping yourself on track. It's like climbing a mountain. Sometimes you don't move forward, but you still maintain your position. You hold firm, you don't slide back, and as long as you don't fall, you're still in the game. If yes, you've surpassed most people. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Because consistent people don't need to win early, they just need not to quit. They understand that every persistent day is a brick in the foundation. And when the foundation is thick enough, all the results you've ever wanted will come at once. Not because you've done something miraculous, but because you've been persistent enough not to give up before the miracle happens. You don't get what you want. You get exactly what you accept. Life doesn't pay according to dreams, but according to standards. And if you want to elevate your results, you don't need to look outward. You need to look back at your inner standards of living. What you consider enough, acceptable, good enough, because those silent definitions are what rewrite the entire direction of your life day by day without you realizing it. Many people are not lazy. They try, they work, they want good things, but they still live stuck in a dull loop, simply because they've never raised their personal standards. They work just enough to avoid reprimand, just enough to not be eliminated, just enough to not fall too far behind, but they never work to the point that makes them proud of themselves. They eat enough to stay healthy, rest enough to avoid exhaustion, read a few pages of a book to not feel guilty. Everything is at the good enough level. And then they wonder why they haven't broken through. You cannot demand extraordinary results while every action is at an average level. You cannot become an influential person if the way you think, speak, and work is all repetitive, dull, and undemanding. Low standards create low results. There are no exceptions. Any area where you are stagnating, health, finances, relationships, career, look at the standards you are silently applying. That is the root of all problems. The danger is you often don't see the standards you are living by. They don't appear clearly as written words. They hide behind seemingly small choices. Staying up late but watching another 20 minutes of videos, agreeing to a half-hour late appointment without discomfort, allowing yourself to rush through a project because no one will know. These things accumulate, creating an identity that you carry with you everywhere. And then you attract exactly the type of results that correspond. Unreliable people, half-finished work, unfinished goals. If you want to change your life, Don't just raise your goals, raise your standards. Redefine what normal means for you. What is your normal? Is it showing up to work on time or arriving early and preparing? Is it completing work on deadline or exceeding expectations? Is it speaking the truth when necessary or staying silent because it's easier? These definitions are not invisible. They're reflected in every behavior. And then life treats you the way you treat yourself. People with high standards don't need anyone to push them. They push themselves. Not out of fear, but because they refuse to live below their potential. They can't bear the feeling of knowing they can do better but not doing it. They don't show off, they don't act excited, but inside they always operate with principles, and that makes them irreplaceable. Standards is something no one forces upon you, but no one will save you if you let go. It's not tested by words, but by those moments no one sees, when you work alone, when you're tired, when you're disappointed. Do you continue to do the right thing when it's hard? Do you accept a lower version of yourself? Do you let your emotions make your standards fluctuate? If the answer is yes, you now know why you haven't risen yet. And here's a hard truth, but one you need to hear. You are teaching others how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. If you often break promises to yourself, they won't trust your word. If you accept an average standard of living, they will give you mediocre opportunities. If you're not strict with yourself, don't expect anyone else to be serious with you, because you are the first and only one who has the right to set the standards for your own life. You can start again at any time with one very simple question. If I were someone who respects myself, what would I do differently right now? And then do that. No negotiation. Repeat without interruption. Because when standards change, behavior changes. And when behavior changes, your life will never be the same. It's not the smartest person who wins. It's not the most prepared person who wins. In most cases, the person who acts faster gains the advantage. Because in the real world, speed creates distance. The longer you hesitate, analyze, and doubt, the more the opportunity slips away to someone else. You don't lose because you're not good enough. You lose because you react just one step slower than others. Quick action doesn't mean rushing or acting without thought. It means minimizing the time between I know what I need to do and I'm starting right now. In the gap between those two moments, if you don't control it, you'll begin bargaining with yourself, negotiating with fear and listening to all kinds of reasons to delay. And if you're used to overanalyzing before every action, you're turning yourself into a hostage of hesitation. Successful people understand that the right decision doesn't have to be perfect. They don't sit around waiting for all the information. They don't wait for the certainty. They're not paralyzed by analysis. They take action. They start with what they have, adjust on the go, and learn through the process. They know reality will teach faster than any plan. They are willing to step into the gray areas where no one can guarantee anything because they understand that only action creates clarity. If you look back at every big opportunity in your life, you'll see no opportunity ever comes twice. Every opportunity has a lifespan. It appears silently waiting for a response and then disappears quietly if you don't act in time. Successful people don't just sense opportunities, they move immediately when they see a signal. They don't need to be perfect to start, they just need to start to improve along the way. But action is not innate. It's a reflex that can be trained. Every time you hesitate, you're digging deeper into the habit of procrastination. Every time you push through fear and act right away, even if it's just one small step, you're reprogramming your brain to respond faster to what matters. And when you repeat this reflex enough times, you no longer have to try to act. You become someone who always takes action. One of the simplest techniques to break the procrastination cycle is the 5-second rule. When you know what you need to do, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and start. Don't let your brain come up with excuses. Don't let fear convince you to wait. Don't let an opportunity slip away just because you want to prepare a little more. The truth is, you don't need more time, you need less time to start. Ordinary people get stuck in the let me think a little more state, where that little more kills millions of ideas, thousands of plans, and hundreds of life-changing relationships. When you act slowly, you not only miss the opportunity, you lose faith in yourself. The more you delay, the more you think you're not good enough. The more you analyze, the more overwhelmed you get by the choices. And the longer you wait, the more you find yourself standing still. Quick action creates an invisible advantage. It builds psychological momentum. When you start, you gain inspiration. When you move, you gain energy. When you see yourself moving forward, even slowly, you begin to believe you can. And that belief is the strongest fuel to maintain motivation. But if you wait until you feel ready, you'll never start. Because the feeling of readiness doesn't come before action, it only comes after. Here's what you need to understand clearly. There's no perfect choice, no ideal time, no 100% safe option. There's always risk. There are always mistakes. But if you act, you will learn, and if you learn, you will adjust. The fast movers always evolve faster. They accumulate real-world experience. They improve through collisions. They don't repeat mistakes for long because they have the speed to correct them. And that's why they don't need to start in the first place, because it's the speed of action that gets them ahead. No one is born with perseverance. No one wakes up every morning naturally capable of overcoming any difficulty. Perseverance is not a gift you receive. It's a skill you forge yourself through every disappointment, every moment of exhaustion, every time you want to give up but continue anyway. Perseverance doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from the choices you make when all inspiration is gone. You don't need to like adversity to overcome it. You only need not to give up when it comes. The difference between the person who moves forward and the one who stays stuck lies here. One sees pain as a signal to stop. The other sees it as a signal to grow. The persevering person doesn't fail less than you. They just don't let those failures define them. They may fall, but they don't stay on the ground. And every time they stand up, they become harder to knock down. What makes perseverance is not vague ambition, it's mental discipline. It's the ability to keep your commitment to yourself even when everything turns gray, when the results haven't come, when no one is cheering, when no one believes in you except for yourself. Those are the moments where willpower is forged. No fanfare, no spotlight, just you and the choice, continue or quit. And it's the repetition of those choices that creates a person who cannot be defeated. The person who lacks perseverance often makes the same mistake. They believe that emotions are a reliable guide. They act when they feel inspired. They withdraw when things get tough. But emotions change by the hour. And if you let emotions control your actions, you will never overcome any serious challenge. The persevering person doesn't wait for inspiration. They act even when emotions tell them to stop. That's true strength. The ability to continue when your body, mind, and circumstances all fight against you. No one becomes perseverant by living easily. You must go through adversity. You must step into discomfort. You must push your limits physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because only in those areas do you discover that your endurance is greater than you thought. Every time you face something difficult without backing down, you not only overcome it, you expand your limits. And if you do it long enough, what once scared you will become trivial. Perseverance is not about running fast, it's about not stopping. There will be days when you can't do your best. There will be times when you're tired, distracted, hurt. But if you still show up, still do something, even if it's just a small part, you're sending a very powerful message to your brain. I don't live by emotions, I live by standards. And from that moment, you become impervious to the usual winds of life. Remember, you can't wait until everything is easy to practice perseverance. You must actively put yourself into challenges. You don't need to climb mountains or run marathons. Just choose to do the things you don't like but know are necessary. Wake up early, exercise, turn off notifications, meet deadlines, face uncomfortable truths. Those small but consistent behaviors are exercises for building willpower. And willpower, once solid, will be easily broken. Perseverance is not expressed through strong words. It is shown through repeated actions even when no one is watching. It doesn't need recognition. It doesn't need applause. It just needs you to stick to your personal commitment, day after day, until not giving up becomes instinct. Nothing can destroy you unless you allow it. No failure is big enough to bury you as long as you keep moving forward. No challenge lasts forever if you have enough perseverance to get through it. Don't expect to become strong overnight. Become the person who never stops moving forward, and strength will find you. So excellence is not a destination, not the moment when you achieve something big and then rest. It is not found in degrees, in bank account numbers, or in external recognition. Excellence is the way you live every day. It's what you become without needing to prove it. It is a new identity formed from thousands of small, quiet, but intentional choices. Every time you act with discipline, every time you maintain your standards, every time you don't give up when it would be easiest to quit, you are rewriting yourself. Do you think you need more time, more resources, more opportunities? No. The only thing you need is one consistent choice. Live as though you are already the person you want to become. Not pretending, not faking it, but building it through specific actions repeated over and over until you can no longer live the old way. It's no longer about trying to be excellent, but about refusing to live beneath excellence. Identity doesn't change through theory. It changes through action. Every time you get up on time, even though you slept late, you're building your identity. Every time you choose to focus instead of scrolling social media, you're strengthening your identity. Every time you continue working on a plan, even though the results haven't come yet, you're showing yourself, I am someone who, and then at some point, you no longer have to try to live as a disciplined person, a focused person, a person with goals. You've become that person. The results you see on the outside are just the surface. The most important part is the unseen, identity. It determines what you do when no one is looking, what you think when faced with failure, how you react when rejected. Those who live for results are up and down. Those who live by identity maintain consistency. Because they are not dependent on circumstances. They act from the inside, from a standard that is non-negotiable with the world. So now, I ask you, what have you concluded from the previous 9 parts? What do you notice repeating throughout all of them? And can you identify where the key lies? Did you realize that excellence doesn't lie in the big leaps, but in the consistency of small actions? Did you recognize that change, it doesn't come from instant willpower, but from a system of living that's sustained day after day? Did you see that what matters is not where you are, but how you're acting in any given moment? If the answer is yes, then you've understood the core. To get new results, you must become a new person. It's not about trying to change the surface. It's about updating the very roots within you. Identity, perception, standards, and the way you choose to act in any circumstance, especially the difficult ones. You don't need to wait any longer. You don't need more proof, more motivation, more certainty. Everything you need to start is already in your hands. The ability to choose a new standard of living starting today. And if you truly choose, you won't need to say anything. Your actions will speak for you. Your results will be the proof. And your new identity, someone who lives excellently from the inside, will shine through on its own. So, the final question for you is, will you continue living as the old version of yourself? Or will you begin to act as the person you know you deserve to become?